people who set the solar ones, can you just raise your hands? इतने तो नहीं है. So these guys, I'll ask you another question. Guys, technically what hardware assembly, how hardware actually is running, how hardware comes to hardware. These were all of us.
Hello, hello. Am I audible? Okay. So this is actually my second session on the same topic. I did previous session using stuff which were okay, but in recent times I decided to update it. So I do have a bunch of stuff. If you read the entire introduction, you'll know it's pushing the boundaries of legal. You will know why I named it like it. Fine. I will tell you what's the issue with that. So first thing, a little bit about me. I work as security consultant. I was a corporate trainer. I also as a seeker. I completed 6 years of professional experience. I've got OSCP. I do part-time research and I play games, read manga, and occasionally do cycling. Fine. So, what is hardware arsenal? Hardware arsenal is when you start building hardware, especially for hacking. Fine. I prefer to do it as cheap as possible and using open source, or you can go and buy Hackify if you want. But most of my hardware are open source or as cheap as possible. Today I'm going to show you Raspberry Pi Zero W. W is for wireless, and it is the cheapest offering by Raspberry. I think Raspberry Pico is a bit cheaper, but fine. All the software which I will show you today will work on Raspberry Pico also. The use of hardware arsenal is a bit murky, I would say, because why do I do it? I have a huge curiosity. Also, I was an engineer in electronics and telecommunication, so eventually decided to combine both of it. There is murky because you do use a lot of these stuff in military operations, physical red team, and research also. For me, it is mostly research because it kind of gives me a opportunity in order to think if this is possible, and after a week, I say, okay, it is possible. Fine. So that is typically my process. I think if it is possible, work around it, try to find if it is maybe possible. Around a week or later, I figure out okay, it can be done. So the first one is spawned by ALOA. ALOA stands for a little offensive application. How many of you know rubber ducky? How many of you know open source rubber ducky? Fine? No? Yeah. So I think last session I told you about 80, 90, 85. This is rubber ducky but with Wi-Fi. Fine? So it is rubber ducky, but it is with Wi-Fi. So this project was actually discontinued. But the thing about discontinued is doesn't mean that it's not working. You take the code, you read the code, you make changes, you update it yourself. That's it. It is a Wi-Fi rubber ducky. It has a language called as HID script, which is similar to ducky script. It also allows you to connect it as a keyboard, mouse, external hard disk, as many modes as possible. So not only can you connect the device, but you can also convert it into keyboard, hard disk, and also wireless. So I don't have to be connected there. So the device is over there. I'm not connected to it anyway. I'm standing here, and it works on Raspberry Pi Pico as well as Zero. I'll show you an example. Let's escape. I'm sharing the screen, right? Fine. I'm connected to the wireless from here. If you are nearby, you should be able to see a Wi-Fi hotspot called as Spawn Pi. Let me run the script, and after that I will tell you what's happening. So what am I trying to do? Okay, let's disable antivirus. So I'll run the script, stand back, and watch. It opens the Windows Defender, scrolls down to manage settings, clicks on that, turns off the antivirus, allows it the permission, and then that's it. Fine. You can add more things, open a reverse shell, send it to whatever you want. The Defender is off. I did not actually have to connect to there. I could do it since I'm connected to the Wi-Fi hotspot. Fine. Couple of things, you can add bunch of stuff to this. You can also convert it into a hard disk. So if I want to show you the console, this is how it looks. Can I zoom? Fine. So you can see the IP address 172.24.0.1. It's connected to PON 5. You can check your Wi-Fi also to check if PON 5 is accessible. You can connect it as a bunch of different stuff on the right. You can see there is a HID script at the top. There is where you write the scripts. If I were to show you a script, this is typically the script. Fine. If you go to the page PON by ALOA, you'll understand how to write the script. It's not that difficult. It does have few limitations, as in it doesn't understand tab. So instead of tab, you can try down, 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 down. Fine. So that are the few limitations, but you can create your own if you want. If you see, it also supports Bluetooth as well as trigger actions. Trigger actions are basically what happens if you connect the device to the laptop. For me, I have not chosen anything over here because I wanted to connect it wirelessly. Fine. You can do whatever you want after that. I have bunch of scripts over here. You can see load and replace. If you scroll down, these are all my scripts I have. Now the question is, where is it useful? If you think about it, this is technically implant. It doesn't use network. I'm connected to the device. I have compromised the device, but you cannot detect it if you check the network. And if you know about Wi-Fi extenders, the signal extenders, you can put one over here and you can go far as possible to connect to the Wi-Fi extender and then to the device. So this is typically a hardware implant. You have access, but you cannot detect it because you are not accessing it through the network. You are accessing through the USB port. Fine. Any doubts in this? Yes. There's a JavaScript file. It's a HID script. It looks like JS. And it's because of the semicolon at the end. It doesn't exactly look like JS. It's a bit different. You can just Google HID script ALOA project. You'll get an idea. Any doubts in this? So this is typically how it works. You have the compromise system which has the device connected. It creates a Wi-Fi. The attacker accesses the Wi-Fi portal, deploys the script, and you can connect the C2 server. Again, if you don't want to do it, you can keep on updating scripts and deploying it to the reverse shell. You don't actually have to connect to the C2 server. That's totally fine. You can keep changing the script as you want. Till the time the device is connected, it will allow you to change scripts, or if you want to download anything, you can download it to the device, connecting it as a hard disk. Fine. Okay. Any doubts in this project? Right. Okay. The next one is my favorite. It's called as Ponagaki. It is a artificial intelligence based beta cap running. Can I make it a bit bigger? Yeah. Oh, my bad. Yeah. So it's a AI-based project which actually captures Wi-Fi handsets. It can upload it to the internet. It can try to crack it, and you have to do absolutely nothing in it. It also allows you to attach a USB GPS in which it also detects where the high Wi-Fi the capture was done. Basically, it's a war driving machine. I have one over here, if you can see, right? As I'm not connected, so it's in manual mode. I'll convert it into auto. Just let me show you the interface one. Fine. Sorry. Yeah. This is the interface. If you see, this is basically what you can see on the screen also. You can see cake 18 stations made 127 new friends, the 10 handshakes captured, CPU is at 12%, temperature is 44 degrees Celsius. It's currently in manual mode, meaning it's not running. Fine. If I click on it, it's converted into auto mode. But before that, let me also show you the GPS map. We go to plugins over here, go into web config. Sorry, not web config. We should have web GPS map. I've not run it over here with my USB GPS, so it will show you the location of UAE actually. I was running over there capturing bunch of handshakes, but it might take a bit of time to load. Fine. If you are looking for a tool which does packet capture, I would say there is a project called as Angry Oxide. It is better. But if you want someone who makes faces when he captures, this is one is better. Fine, you don't get faces over there. Fine, I don't think this is going to load. It's not running USB. Fine. If I go back, you can see this is running. Let's put it on auto mode. This will take a bit of time for it to convert into auto mode. It will refresh once it is done. Any doubts in this project? Yes. The AI part is so when you're bot driving, there are multiple techniques you can use to capture the handshake. You can try de-authentication, you can try listening, or you can try a number of other methods. Based on which method has actually allowed it to capture the handshake, it tries to use that method multiple times. Yeah, so it is in auto mode right now. So you can see looking around 43 seconds, it will keep on changing that. It also makes faces and so on. Fine. Any doubts in this? Also, couple of things. I'm using Pi Sugar as the battery for my Raspberry Pi. So three things. The screen is WaveShare 4. It's a company which makes display for Raspberry Pi Zero. The battery is Pi Sugar. Again, a battery which you can use for Raspberry Pi, and it's actually quite small in size. You can see like this. That's all. There are three layers. It's a sandwich basically. Fine. Any doubts till now? I don't know who that is. It will keep on making faces. If you want, you can look at it. Any doubts till now? You can try it. So it does allow you to attach an antenna. I've tried it with Alpha Card. So it range increases. It keeps on capturing more and more. Okay. 1200 ampere is the battery size. It works for 3 to 4 hours. Depends on where you buy from and how much the components cost. Fine. So that was Ponagachi. This is Flipper. You might have heard Flipper a lot, but it is similar to Ponagachi. It also makes faces. It also has a number of other stuff. I had Flipper for around 1 year. I did use it in previous session also, but this one is a bit different because I decided to buy modules for it. This is one of it. It's called a Wi-Fi module for Flipper. You can add Marauder framework into it. Basically, you can do the entire Wi-Fi testing using just a Flipper. The authentication attack, evil, rogue, and n number of others, you can do it. I'll start evil rogue after I complete this. You can access it directly. But this time, I want to show a interesting thing with Flipper. How many of you use Bluetooth every single day? How many of you know that Bluetooth can lead to a reverse shell? How many of you have tried Bluetooth with reverse shell? Fine. So, short story, you can actually use Bluetooth as to create a reverse shell. Reason being, Bluetooth keyboards are present. Keyboards do allow you to press. Flipper can use that logic to send the payload. So, I do have a practical for this. On the left, you can see I'm hosting a web server in which I have a payload. On the right, you can see there is a listener running. Fine. All I have to do is go to Flipper. Let me just host my or just start my Bluetooth basically. I can go to this config, it's fine. You can also change the name of your Bluetooth. You can also change the Bluetooth MAC address on Flipper. So there is no way to detect this is actually a Flipper. You can change the MAC, you can change the name, you can put whatever you want. And I just keep run it. Now let me connect to my Bluetooth. So it's over here. I'll have to go to Bluetooth, open this, go to add a device, go to Bluetooth, and here you can see a device called as JBL speaker. Right? Just click on it, it's connecting. We just click on connect, and now we wait. Once connect to the Flipper, Flipper deploys the code, and once the code is deployed, remember I showed you the payload back. The payload is copied, you get HTTP 200 and the reverse shell is over here. You can see the device name and it's hosted on Power 1.0. Same logic works on iOS, same logic works on Mac, same logic works on Android, same logic works on any device which works on Bluetooth. Don't connect to Bluetooth, it's not worth it. Fine. Any doubts in this? Sure? Fine. I can also spam Bluetooth message across the entire room because there is an extender called as NRF24. Let me just see. Yep, this one. There is an extender called NRF24 for Flipper. You can add it to Flipper, just connect it, turn on the API out to 5 volts, and put your Flipper into Bluetooth spamming mode. It's a bigger antenna if you see, so it can start to brute force every single person in this room, which is bad. I'm not going to do it. Fine. If you want, you can just Google BLE spam, you'll get the videos. I'm just combining it with my antenna, that's all. Any doubts in this? No? Okay. There's actually the Flipper breakdown as in what are the devices and what are the parts. If you see, it's not that big of a device. There is a layer, there is a battery. This is where you have the antenna and other devices. All the sensors are present over here, and the addition is this part over here, GPIO headers. This allows you to add bunch of stuff into Flipper. I have checked with GPS, I have a Wi-Fi, I have a Bluetooth, I have a sub gigahertz. Sub gigahertz is used to open your you have the barricade, right? That thing. Also, I've not tested it on street lights. It might work, might not. Also, you can try to send it signals to cars. Maybe it will work. The range is quite high. I've seen around 100 meters, 150 meters. You can attach the antenna and send it across sub-gigahertz frequency. So yeah, Flipper does extend its capabilities because of the GPIO headers. You can do bunch of stuff depending what sensors you have. These are the three which I mentioned. On the right, you have the Wi-Fi. On the left, the first one is sub gigahertz. The below one is NRF24. The below one is a Bluetooth. Above one is sub gigahertz. This one is Wi-Fi. Fine. Wi-Fi, you do have to install Marauder framework on the Wi-Fi in order to run this. Flipper can do it, as in you do not need a laptop to do it. Fine. Any doubts till now? So till now, whatever I discussed is not mentioned as illegal anywhere. So this is technically fine, and you can do it. Do it at your home. Don't do it other people. It is not worth it. Also think about doing it because you have to write the code, understand how it works, and laptop crashes, blue screen, and number of other stuff. Okay, fine. It's not like practical, which I did. I did got it in first time. I had to do it n number of times. Then it okay, it works. Now we go into the category of is it legal or it's definitely not legal. Next one is HackRF. This is my favorite tool. This is also the most controversial tool, not because of the name, but because of what it can do. It's over here. It's a small device. It's HackRF1 photo pack. I'll show you what the both components are. So if you see, these are the insides of my HackRF. The right part is the HackRF part. This is a HDR, software defined radio. We can change the frequency, we can change the antenna based on the right part. The left part is a Frankenstein combination of where you combine the hack RF with a photo pack. Basically, you are controlling it without having a laptop. Fine. So I also added a speaker over there just for fun. If you see this one, this is actually a speaker. This cable. This is hack RF and this is the screen which you see. So what is hack RF? Hack RF is a HDR, software defined radio, which works from few megahertz to 6 gigahertz. That is the frequency in which everything works. Everything. Like from your IR sensor to your Wi-Fi to your phone. Your phone, if you are working with 5G, I think it is 3200 megahertz or 3.2 gigahertz. If you are 4G, it is 2.8 gigahertz. Fine. So hacker works on every single frequency, right from the beginning till the end. The question is, what can you do with it? This is a sample which I performed in which I was performing jamming of Wi-Fi using my HackRF. I used HackRF to identify the channel of my Wi-Fi signal. Wi-Fi works in two frequencies, 2.4 or 5. 2.4 and 5 both have 14 channels. Fine. You just run HackRF, identify the signal. You can do it with Flipper also. But you just run HackRF, identify the signal. Once you identify the signal, you send white noise across it. Fine. Imagine a wave. Your wave is a signal. White noise is just a bigger wave. You just flush out the wave from it. If I show you a demo, it's quite simple. Yeah, so I was working with it. I started the internet connection using fast.com. I was getting a good amount of internet connection over here. I think it's 250. Fine, it's stabilized at 210. I start the jamming operation. I had already figured out the frequency from here. You keep it running for a period of time. Important part is the antenna. Remember that antenna is for Wi-Fi. Fine. You keep it running for a period of time. You go back. You test the network again. It will not work. The reason this is illegal is because if you go to an area where there are CCTVs connected to Wi-Fi, you turn on the jamming, all the CCTVs go blank. Fine. So don't do it. Okay. Next one is actually more controversial than the previous one. This is called a hacker GPS spoofing. What is GPS? Global positioning system. You need three, what do we call it? Satellites to position yourself. So if three satellites are used to position yourself, they work on a frequency. They work on 1 gigahertz to 1.3 gigahertz frequency. I know the frequency. I get the signal information from NASA. I can spoof it. Fine. So NASA does publish you results for GPS coordinates. You go to the website, just search NASA GPS coordinates, you'll get the data. Once you get the data, you compile it using a tool called a GPS sim. It will give you output with the extension .c8. You take that output, you put into HackRF, and you start spamming GPS signals. The problem with this is, as soon as you spam the signal, the location will change over here. Fine. The bigger problem is why this is completely illegal is because there are devices which are locked to a location because of GPS, ATMs. So ATM will not open till the moment it is in the same location. It will open, but if you go to a different location, it will not open. Why? Because GPS is reliable. something which is provided by satellite with its strength is reliable, which is fine. So we put a trust on the satellite. It is not reliable as we thought because you can spoof the signal. So if I run this, it's the same thing. I'm having the GPS coordinate on the left. I'm running GPS on the right. Here is the location changes and it keeps on moving. Fine. This is for sure illegal. You should not do it on flight. You will not land. Fine. I'm damn sure you should not do it on flight. Okay. So yeah, this is definitely illegal. You had to make sure you are in a private space to do the sample. It should not go beyond the range, and it's extremely risky to do it, especially on flight. Fine. What? Yeah, you're not giving. You're definitely not going to reach. Yeah. Everything which works on GPS, it's similar to the Bluetooth one. Everything which works on Bluetooth is affected if you run that one. This one is much more is because everything uses GPS as it is. We just consume it. We assume that a satellite, the signal is coming from satellite, we just consume it. अच्छा मैं इधर हूँ, तीन satellite ने बोला मैं इधर हूँ. You don't know whether you're jamming or not. If somebody sending you signal between, you don't know. Any doubts till now? So that's an interesting question because actually I also have an amplifier for it. So yeah, the range is quite huge. If I want, the range is quite huge. Yeah, right. I'm not doing practical over here. That's why I took the video recording of it because I did not want to do practical or hacker over here. Fine. Any doubts till now? Satellite? Yes. Or any device you have. Okay. The last one is the key fob rolling attack. Anybody uses key fob over here? One, two. Everybody knows what's a key fob? Okay, you press the button and the car unlocks. You trust that you send a signal and the car receives it. Let's put it that way. You trust that you send a signal and the car receives it. That's the key fob. And how it works is it uses a set of predefined passcodes. Remember, why predefined is because we are not in a client server architecture. We do not have TLS. We don't have any logic between a car as well as the button, a key fob. So what they do is they use a preset conditions. What are the preset conditions? It might be a signal like 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 3 3 3 3 4 4 4 5 5 and so on. It's a static sequence but different signals. Those are called as rolling codes. Got the idea? Static sequence but different signals. Right? Okay. Now, how do we break this? Because typically Flipper cannot break it. Because if you send a signal, Flipper captures it, the car will ask, send me a different signal. Typical Flipper cannot break it. But we are not talking about typical, right? So this is the architecture how it works. You have the key fob. You send the signal to the car. It works in typically 433 megahertz. Use the HackRF1 to block the signal. The signal is sent. It is not received. Remember the word. The signal is sent, but it is not received. You use Flipper on the key fob to capture the signal when it is sent. You capture it couple of times, the signal never reaches. How do you know never reaches? You keep on pressing the button, it doesn't unlock. You capture the signal, you replay the signal, you just remove hack RF from it. Ta-da! Fine. So this is again exploitation of trust where you believe that the signal is sent, it is received. No, it doesn't work like it if you want. There is a video of it. I couldn't get a POC for some reason. Nobody is giving me car for testing for this. There is a POC. I have attached the YouTube link for it where the person demonstrates how it is done. I'll show you the video. I'm doing it for research purpose, by the way. Yeah, I do have the video for it. The guy uses a hacker app over here to jam the signal. He presses the key fob. You can see it is unlocking. He turns on the signal jammer using hacker app. So this was actually a different one. Fine. So in this case, capturing the signal using that and it's replaying it. Fine. A different method will be you block the signal, you capture it with flipper and then do the same thing. Fine. Any doubts till now? Anything you want to ask? Okay. It does work on Tesla. I don't want to test it. I don't have a Tesla. Anybody has a Tesla wants to test it. I promise to delete the signal after I've tested it. Fine. This is one of the important slides because I do have to mention. Whenever you try to get stuff, it might be caught with customs. It happens a lot. 5 to 6 times happened with me alone. They do give you money back though. Fine. Second thing, don't be a script kiddie. Don't do it in public. It's just stupid. Stick to research and development. You can do bunch of stuff, but yeah, you should not do it for illegal means. Tons of research is required because these things either are not present or it's just idea at the end of the day. You don't know Bluetooth can lead to reverse shell. Now you know Bluetooth can lead to reverse shell. Fine. Request before testing. If you are doing on your own system, it's fine. But if you want to do it on some other system, do request them. Can we do it? And if you want to be tested, also take a proof of concept. Check for the regulations. So I know that in India it's not allowed to do the jamming which I showed you. Same thing with GPS also. So don't do it in India. Handle and maintain hardware properly. I do make sure I put the hardware in cover and just cover it because it's steel, right, or iron. It rusts with time. Join a community. That is actually the name. It's not a community. That's actually the name. Dangerous things in the community, Reddit, Twitter community, which can help you a lot with this research. Fine. Any doubts with this? It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know exact cost, but I think I'm not sure exact cost. Because most of the stuff are cheap, like Raspberry Pi Zero is cheap. The only thing costly is Hacker. Even Hacker is cheap actually. Flipper and the modules are costly. Fine, that's all my talk. What? Which one? Set up a condition in your GPA which doesn't allow you to connect a USB. Yeah, definitely not. You can block the USB port itself. Don't allow USB ports at all. Use the ADR in order to detect a malicious behavior. Yeah, because if you cannot block the USB and I can convert it into a keyboard, then it's a problem, right? Flipper zero does get detected, but you can compile the MAC address into a different thing when you are burning the firmware. Don't use Bluetooth. It's a tricky question because you have to use Bluetooth in order to connect to your earphones. But don't connect to any device which you don't know. But it's also tricky because I can name it as your device and people don't remember MAC address. So yeah, it's a conundrum that if you know a device you trust that device, but don't connect to any other Bluetooth you don't trust. Fine, any doubts? As far as HackRF is concerned, I would say it's more around government and electronics in general, whether they can implement security, especially with rolling codes. Can they implement trust between two devices? How do they implement maybe certificate, maybe something else? But it depends more on the electronic manufacturer rather than you as a person. Yep. Any other doubts? No, none of the proprietary. No, you can't. The thing is, Flipper has two components: the firmware and the open source community. So you have to burn new firmware into it. Once you add a module, you have to know which code will run on the module, and you can contact the open source community or you can build it yourself. So all the capabilities of Flipper can be replicated by different tools. That is true, but it will take much more time compared to actually buying a Flipper and just burning it firmware and doing the research that way. You don't get Flippers nowadays. Fine. Any other doubts? Yeah, they don't like research purpose. Any other doubt? Yep. Will the slipper detected in India? Actually, I don't know. Yeah, actually, I don't know. The reason being, if PowerShell is not allowed at all, it will you can disable Flipper PowerShell execution. But the problem is you can run without PowerShell also. For example, the first project PonPy which I did, it was using a different method. So if you turn off the ADR itself, or you can do other stuff, so depend on how you, because these are open source projects, right? There is no single process to follow. Depending on your situation, you can change the code as you want. Fine. Any other doubts? Okay, I'll just spawn the evil rogue access point on Flipper Wi-Fi module. If you want, you can connect. Do not put the credentials. Strictly do not. I have like 12 portals: Twitter, Amazon, Google. Which one you want? I'll have to check. Where is Flipper? I didn't. I did it last time. I think I have lagged this. I have to restart this one. Who's the next? No, the backdoor is stopped, but I think the execution is still there. Try power back button and down or up button, something like that. You'll have to check Google it, what to reset it. I think it's back and up or down, something like that. No, right? Yeah, you'll have to Google it. It's restarted, right?
Whenever I do this software, whenever I always use the market, the challenge is that they are always looking at these things on a system. When they're looking at each product controller as an individual, we have a vast kind of application. We have sales available. And when you see these stories, when you see the red team journey, typically you see how many things, many small flaws that come together to achieve a much bigger impact for the organization. And that's the sort of the story of the television story. Yeah. So these are all real renting, real stories of renting people. This is the renting from a startup that we work with. Right? They gave so again startup, so no real active renting, no real. Components have taken access to build new pipelines. So we built a new pipeline, and one of the commands we asked it to use a mail command to send the entire encrypted secrets file to my inbox as an attachment. So for those who don't know, Jenkins stores secrets in an encrypted file on the local machine, right, on the Jenkins server. And we can extract that, decrypt that, crack it, and get the actual secrets back. So that was, and this is all in the real flow what we did for the network, right? So we got Jenkins to send us the secrets, got the credentials, went from there. So within Jenkins, we got GitHub credentials. We try to log into GitHub, then comes back to a page, right? So again, dead end, you can't really go further from there. What we realized is using those GitHub credentials, at least at that point in time, we could do a Git checkout on the command line, and as long as you were able to get the repository name, it would bypass code. So you could actively check out the repository using those credentials as HTTP authentication on the command line, right? So we created a word list, we started citing thousands of repository names, and we figured out based on Jenkins and things, we figured out some patterns, right? So we got about 200 working repositories. We could dump those 200 working code repositories, and we had all the source code developed for customer. And we said, okay, fine, that's the next step, let's go from there. Oh, sorry. Wrong way. Okay. So next step was interesting, right? So we had GitHub, we downloaded all these repos. Turned out one of the repos was named DevOps. Open the repo and there were 10 files inside, right? Which is SSH one public key files that you use for Git server. And like most companies in India, unfortunately again, most startups rather, they had single certificate files used for every single developer. Right? There wasn't any separate permissions, authorizations, separate keys for the separate tool wasn't in place, right? So we wrote a script again, which took these 10 files and cited every single one of their AWS IP addresses with the pen file and tried to authenticate. And we identified that there were a few EC2 instances that we tested into, the ones that we were using as a jump server. Got into the jump server, once we were inside, we would sudo get root and sort of then enumerate the LAN, start accessing internal services, get RDS instances, open up the database production, and essentially compromise everything thereafter. So, I mean, it was an interesting sort of journey pathway because it's not a traditional sort of red team approach, right? When you look at traditional red teams, they're very active directory focused, they're very enterprise focused. And when we work with startup customers, the pathway can be very, very, very different, right? Because of stuff like this, right? For the same customer, we actually have a vendor on retailer who I will tell them, I'm targeting their next today, right? They will go on Instagram, find your Diwali party photos, take the lanyard from there, print a fake lanyard, find the RFID card on Instagram, print that as well, give it to us, we'll wear that, put on our t-shirt, all of that with your logo, and then walk straight into your office. And we've done that for this customer as well. So the intent here is that it's important, especially today when we're looking at red teams, it's really important to step back and look at all of this sort of stuff, right? Look at the AWS end of things, look at the cloud end of things. Azure portal has been incredible in red teams, right? Where you can compromise an Azure portal user, use that to get a PowerShell, use that to run Radham and start compromising internal stuff of the cloud, right? So looking at those areas is where I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening in red teams. So this was just one of the journeys or one of the stories that we've taken, right? And every time we do red teams, I mean, every time we do this, my job is essentially to rein my teams in, right? Generally, tech folks, they get really, really, really deep into tech, right? They want to find the most technical solution to build something. And when you step back and look at it, a lot of times, the best way to compromise them is really, really simple, right? It's not really technical, it's not really complicated. You have to more look at the big picture and really strategize where you can create the biggest impact, right? So I'll talk about one example where we had something similar happen there, right? Customer comes to us with their team, we start compromising things, but they're not able to achieve anything significant, right? They have a lot of VLAN segregations, they have a lot of permissions in place, a lot of isolations there. So while they're able to compromise accounts, they're able to get even RDP on any using Citrix onto certain machines, we're not able to create any sort of significant impact. We're working on it, and eventually, through some journey, we compromise an S3 bucket. S3 bucket contained an SQL file backup, and the SQL file backup was for their on-prem ticketing system, I think Jira or something like that. So, while that was an interesting compromise, there was a lot more there, right? So we downloaded those files, downloaded those files and started analyzing those SQL backup files, right? And once we start going through them, we realize that this company puts all sorts of information in Jira tickets. So then we spent the next few days writing a tool to parse SQL files and really get the data out. But there were IP addresses, there were credentials, there were AWS tokens, there were PEM files. There was all the stuff just sitting in attachments in Jira tickets, right? And nobody within the organization was like, this might be a bad idea. So a lot of our job when we're doing these red teams is to sort of sit back, think out of the box, right? To look at the customer and basically think, where do we think the dirt is going to be, right? Where should we look? Because the biggest challenge in red teams is, I'm sitting on the outside, scanning a customer with 50,000 employees. There's thousands of systems. Where do you look is the problem, right? Compromising them isn't the problem. But if I compromise a random marketing microsite, that's not really going to have value with me, right? So, how to sort of understand their business, make assumptions about how they're operating, and then sort of target your team to really focus on systems that are going to create an impact, right? And when you can then link things together and go from there. So in this case, We got a bunch of compromises. We waited for a fresh backup to come, fresh backup and get some ticket with the NES credentials, use that, compromise the land, and we went from there and compromise. But it can be a lot of these different journeys to get the same result. There we go. So yeah, the next one was a really interesting red team, right? And this was a real bad that we were doing red team for, right? And this is quite a few years ago now, but still one of my favorite stories. So we're doing this red team, and we start out with phishing in this case, as somebody said. Send out a phishing email, and within about 10 minutes or maybe an hour or so, the SOC has triggered a takedown request to GoDaddy. Our domain has been taken offline, phishing is finished, right? They blocked it on the web filter, everything took place as it's supposed to. 1 hour in, we realized zero clicks have happened on the phishing. Absolutely none, right? So we're frustrated. This particular customer, being one of the new age banks, had everything on the cloud, everything on behind Citrix, not a lot of the legacy infra that you typically see with banks, right? So we are sitting there thinking, how do we sort of go at this customer, right? How do we compromise them? So we realize Citrix is where what we want to compromise, right? We compromise Citrix, we start logging into people's machines, and from there, of course, data would open up, process would open up, and go from there, right? But we couldn't find anything open from outside. Everything had 2FA enabled, everything was restricted, we couldn't really achieve anything, right? So a team comes up with an idea. They go, this is a few years ago, now I can carry on the Raspberry Pi as well for this purpose. But at that point, we ordered a cheap RFID reader of AliExpress. Literally this one here, right? That's a real photo from the red team report. We bought this RFID reader and we spent a few hours in the elevator going up and down, and then lunch rush happened. A bunch of people walked in from that company and somebody did a scan, cloned the RFID card, we went back, wrote a fresh RFID card, put the stickers and the lanyard and all that stuff that we had ready, and then went and walked into the particular operations. Right? So we walked in, nobody questioned, we tapped our card, we go right in, and we start then going from there and starting to build it. I talk about that as well, that's interesting as well. Right? That's an actual photo of some of our folks who are doing the red team, sitting in the customer canteen, and this is how the customer that they managed to compromise their go forward. Okay. So this happened and we were like, okay, now we've got physical access in the network, what do we do further, right? So we walked around the office, they found some desk that was empty because the person was in a meeting or something of that sort. Went and plugged in a tiny, one of those tiny Wi-Fi routers into the LAN cable that was on that desk, and they come outside, right? So now we've got a little Wi-Fi hotspot that's running inside the office in one of these LAN cables, and we are able to sit downstairs in the reception. So think about this exact location, right? It was a similar location where they had multiple floors and customer had a top floor, and our folks would sit a couple of floors down in the reception sofa, connect to that Wi-Fi hotspot that we had set up in the LAN, and now we had LAN access, right? What they had also done was they deployed a small Raspberry Pi in one of the conference rooms. So, okay, let me give you a little context here, right? So when we started this red team, the customer had told us that physical security was going to be really important, right? So, just to again give you some idea of the extent we would go to, right? We had our HR team preparing the resumes for our auditors to apply for jobs at this bank. We had done everything possible to get our folks to physically access the bank, right? And through any means necessary. So walking in, somebody had walked in the Raspberry Pi, gone and plugged that in as well at some point. Right? Or maybe that happened, I don't remember. But we had a Raspberry Pi that was running on their network and hosting a phishing page on an Nginx instance on that device, right? So what we did at that point was we then sent the phishing email out. But the link that was used was a LAN link. It was a LAN IP address. Now the difference was, because it's running on the LAN, none of the hits or the clicks went to the web. None of them went to the web proxy, right? Because they don't necessarily need to go out the network. So that meant that the SOC didn't get as many alerts there. We also sent it much more targeted, so we only sent it to a few people because we knew the rate of them clicking was going to be much higher, right? It was coming from inside the network, it was coming from a legitimate email address, all of that, right? And a lot of companies have open SMTs internally as well, right? That they end up using. So So imagine me whether it's satisfied at this point. But that went through, it worked pretty much immediately. And within a few minutes, we had a couple of senior VPs or senior users click the link, open up the phishing links, give us Citrix credentials. We set up a real-time capture, so we got the Citrix credentials. We also got this 2FA token. We were able to use that 2FA token within the time saving access from the outside, compromise Citrix, and once Citrix was compromised, everything operated. They had a bunch of file shares, and we could change, the checkbook information we could change, and we could change all these really interesting things. Because they were using file shares to tell their printing vendor whose name to the checkbook and where to send it. So we could change the Excel sheets and say send it to this address, and now suddenly I have your checkbooks and I'm turning your PIN email and all those things. Right? So this was another red thing that was really interesting, where we used a very different approach from what we typically do. But I think that's I'll add a couple of other stories just to touch upon it, and then I can answer questions at the back. But so while these were three very different sort of approaches to optimizing these red teams, right? Today we do a lot more red teams, and almost every customer that comes to us now is heavily on Azure AD, is heavily on these different platforms, right? So there's a lot more that's publicly available than there used to be earlier, right? Where a customer had a one-click AD and everything on the LAN, from the outside can be touched upon. You can get a few touch points. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff that we're able to do there. Where, like I said, credential stuff, etc., we're able to almost every red team we're able to compromise at least 4, 5, 10% of users just by password cycling and get a bunch of compromised users, right? And then you will say, okay, what are these 2FA reviews, right? The unfortunate reality of these companies is that at any point of time, there's a certain number of people joining. And when you join the company, the first login, it asks you to create 2FA. So what we're able to do is, when we cycle these credentials often enough, we'll eventually find a couple of brand new accounts where 2FA is not set, where we will set our own 2FA. So now my phone will work and that guy's phone is not going to work anymore. And then use that, and of course the person has access to SharePoint and all of those internal setups, and we're able to then take advantage of that data sharing. Right? So I think 99, and I'm sure all of us can attest to it, right? Most companies have terrible internal data sharing. So they have Teams channels where all these credentials, Excel sheets, all this stuff being shared. We recently had a red team where we followed a similar sort of journey, but the customer had internal SharePoint, and the SharePoint contained VPN documentation saying this is how a new employee is supposed to get VPN access, right? And we said, great, that's really helpful, thank you guys. So we were able to follow the instruction and get the certificate and get the 2FA and follow all the process nicely, right? Raise the ticket when we're supposed to raise a ticket and do all those things. They gave us VPN, we took VPN. Right? So you have to really think about these processes now, and you have to red teams are very big with a psychological game now, right? Where you have to really get into the mindset of the company. Right? Is it an enterprise company? Yes. Are they very process driven? Yes. Then how can you abuse the processes? Right? Because if you're talking about a large 100,000 employee company, and if you are able to create a ticket, they will follow the ticket. Right? Nobody's going to ask you a question about it. Right? Is it a startup shop? Then they will be much more flexible. Let's focus on Slack or Teams and right? I think another example. So somebody here actually was involved in the reviews. Okay. We had a customer who made a review like this, right? We compromised Citrix, I believe, got access. Send mobile Citrix. Yes, so Citrix said. Compromised Citrix got access to inboxes, and again, we could cycle passwords, compromise users. We found a way to bypass to it. So we got Citrix access, set up Citrix on our phones, and using a senior VP's email, we sent an email out saying, hey, some auditors are coming to visit for an audit purpose. This thing, please block meeting room X for the next 3 days. And then our folks walked in, said, yes, we are auditors, went to the meeting room and we were able to access that. About 4 hours into it, the senior VP realized, came down and shouted at us, and we had to then get our customer support involved and get the back software. So it's a lot of thinking outside the box, right? You have to think about how do their processes work, how do they operate, right? And how do you sort of work within the boundaries there to achieve what you want to achieve, right? In the same way, there are a lot of customers where we see CrowdStrike, we see EDR deployment, and very able to get around those things a lot, right? Use simple backdoors, use custom backdoors. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? It can be a two-line PHP file that will probably bypass any DR, right? Because it's not showing any malicious behavior, it's not doing all of those internal scanning, internal traffic. It's a really simple custom file, right? So there's a lot of security devices that customers deploy right now. But if you take some time to think about those having a red team, you can it's a domino effect, right? The second you get around the initial entry points, everything starts falling very quickly. Right? So yeah, security don't just hang around the wall, right? This is something that we see with a lot of our customers. People deploy a lot of things, right? People will deploy apps and sins and X, Y, and Z, they will do deception, they will do all these really interesting things out, right? But the question is, have you actually tested it, right? And I'll tell you from probably the 50 plus red teams we've done in the last 2 or 3 months. I think there's been one red team where the SOC actually caught us, right? Where they came back and said, hey, we detected something happening for example addresses. The challenge is that companies have invested tons of money, right? But every single day there are so many alerts coming, there are so much noise coming, right? That when there's a real attack, it's really, really hard for the SOC team to actually say, hey, this is the attack that's happening and we need to now focus on it and actually do something about it, right? So testing that out is really, really important. So whether you do a breach attack simulation using, I don't know if any of you have used it, right? There's an open source project called Cadakia that Windshare has published, which is really interesting, lets you do these simulations internally, right? Simulate a ransomware attack on your LAN, or simulate natural movement on your LAN. But to actually do these things, so whether you do a red team or whether you do something small internally, right? To see whether your actual defenses raised an alert or not. If they raised an alert, great. Did the SOC do something about it or not? And then what's the action taken and how they will prevent it or not. So I think actually making sure that your products do what they're supposed to do is really, really important. And most of these used to not do a great job with that. And the other big takeaway, right, especially for folks on the defensive side of things, right? As an attacker, for me the math is very different, right? I don't need to compromise everything. I need a couple of things, right? So if I can compromise 3 things, that will result in a goal for me, right? I can achieve every single thing of that. Unfortunately for you, you have to get everything right to sort of prevent it. So that skewed math is really important to remember because you have to know that you're fighting an unfair field, right? When you're on the defensive side of things. So you have to really make sure you do everything right every single time. While at the attack end of things, we're just waiting for one mistake. Right? We're waiting for one Git repository where you accidentally push a secret out. We're waiting for one dev that's accidentally used default credentials or weak credentials. We're waiting for one mistake to happen. Right? We can run with it and change it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions anybody has, we have to answer.
How long was a typical engagement take? That was one. And the second one was you mentioned that the person came after you had said that you were going to. So in that case, you should have a letter of engagement, right? So how do you handle the situation?
So typical red teams vary. On average, I mean not average, at minimum we'll do about 15 red teams for smallish footprints, and that will go up to 2 months, 3 months for much larger enterprises. What I tell customers is, I will recommend a number of days for you based on how complex you are, but there is no right answer, right? If you tell me, Yash, I don't have a budget, I want to do it in 5 days, I can do it in 5 days. But there's only that much I can simulate in 5 days, right? Because eventually it comes down to how motivated your attacker is. If your attacker is willing to sit for 365 days and try to compromise you, there's nothing you or I can do to prevent it. It's impossible. So it's all about the more time you give me, the more effort I will put in, and therefore more likely that I will succeed. But it's about finding that balance between what's a reasonable amount of days, cost to benefit ratio. Right? In that particular case, I don't think the problem was that we were doing a security activity. It was more internal politics, where the person in that position felt that they were being targeted so that they would bad within the company. And he got really mad that we had used his email, we could have used anybody's email, why did we use my email and stuff like that, right? But yeah, so we always have that level of engagement, and documentation with customers, giving us permission, especially when we're doing physical activities like this. Right? We don't want our folks to end up in jail. So we always have that, and we always make sure the customer is notified. So whenever we do a red team, we ask for somebody at the customer's end to get Chinese firewall. So the idea is that they are a middle party who knows everything the software is doing. They know everything we are doing, but they will not tell us what the software is doing. Neither will they tell the software what they are doing. But they know everything. So that way, if there's a problem, if say for example we are doing some attack, right, and the soft starts seeing that there is something going down, this person will immediately put it together, pause the activity, or do whatever needs to be done. Sorry? So I don't think there is a top three, to be honest, right? Because I mean, when you talk about DAPT or AppSec or something, I can probably give you a top three relatively, but red teams are very, very vague, right? But if I had to sort of, if in my opinion, if I had to put in three sort of things that a company would do, that would probably reduce the odds of a red team succeeding, right? So number one, I would say 2FA. Absolutely 2FA everything that you have, right? Whether it's VPN, whether it's a Citrix, whether it's a laptop display, right? Tokenize everything, fingerprint, whatever 2FA you want to use, whatever factor you want to use, it doesn't matter. Because eventually everything comes down to credentials, right? I am sending a phishing email with a password, I am using the dark web to buy credentials, I am using password cycling to compromise accounts. So eventually I have to be able to do that, right? So that's probably number one that I would recommend, is putting a 2FA. Number two, I would probably say is looking at your external framework. A lot of times when we do red teams, we have an external platform that we use. We have our own platform that we use to do it, but something like that's an equal show that our senses, right? We'll run that platform and it will generate an entire footprint of that customer, what are all the exposures, what are all the things that are there. Right? And almost always we find a ton of stuff that wasn't supposed to be online, therefore wasn't protected, therefore becomes an entry point. So we'll find a lot of origin servers that are open where they're able to bypass the Cloudflare or the Akamai and get around and talk to the origin. Or we're able to find a lot of that sort of stuff, right? So we'll find a SQL injection or a compromise in some or a RC in some app. Then we find the origin, compare it to the origin, compromise and go from there. So I think external footprint management, especially for companies today who are adopting zero trust and things and exposing more and more directly to the internet, right? So that's number two. Number three, I think eventually comes down to validating yourself, making sure that you do simulations internally and see whether the software is about. So every time we do a red team, we'll have an Excel tracker saying on this date and time from this IP address we did this scan or this exploit or this activity. And then we'll ask the customer to reconcile afterwards, right? Did your stock, how many of these did your stock actually detect? How many did not detect, and then go towards to see that. Because secondly, if your stock is able to detect it, any future attack will hopefully go much higher chances will find it. Any other questions? No? Good.
So let's give a round of applause to some. Please do 5 minutes, take a break of 5 minutes, just recollect all the things, and then we'll have a quiz. Okay?